Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson, and we want everybody with an invisible condition, no matter what that condition is, to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you do have a voice and you do have a community and you are never alone. Here at Invisible Condition, we get it, man. We know that life can be tricky. Life can be tough sometimes. Life can be hard, especially with an invisible condition. And we also know that there is always hope. And so that's the world we choose here to operate in. We live in a world of hope. Join us. If it's been a minute since you've been in that world, join us, won't you? It's nice here. Hope is a beautiful thing. And so I got a couple things I wanted to talk to you about just for a second before we bring our guest on. And number one is our nonprofit, which is called Hydro with Hope. That is our nonprofit partner. And Hydro with Hope aims to help families and individuals that are living with a condition called hydrocephalus, which is the condition I was born with, and has resulted in 15 surgeries over my lifetime so far, and 7 of those are brain surgeries. 4 of those brain surgeries have been in the last 12 years. It's been an interesting time around the Pearson household the last 10 years. And that condition can really wreak havoc on a family and a house. And so we want to help. And so that's what we're here for. And so if you know somebody that could benefit from what we do at Hydro with Hope, if you go to hydrowithhope.com, HYDRO, hydrowithhope.com, you can check out what we're doing and donate if you still choose. We appreciate that. And we're looking, you know what? Our mission has grown to the point that we can't accomplish it with the amount of resources that we have. And so we've expanded our board, and we're growing, and we're getting the word out more and more. And my wife and I are traveling to speak more and more to tell our story and get hope out there, And so if you know somebody that would be a good partner for us, I would love to have a conversation. Just email me at invisiblecondition@e360tv.com. And same thing, with TV, there's advertising, right? There's sponsorships and there's advertising, and that's kind of what makes the world of TV go, And so if you know a company or something that would that would like to talk to us about that, we would love to have that conversation about sponsorship as well. So I will take that off the screen. That's enough of that for today. Now I have a guest that I want to introduce you to. Now, Dr. Douglas Estrada is our guest today, and I can't wait for you to meet him. After a traumatic accident that left him partially paralyzed, not totally, but partially paralyzed, he recovered through traditional healing, which ignited his obsession with the body's innate intelligence. Now, your body is intelligent, and I know some days it doesn't seem as intelligent as others. Every day is different, but it is. It's got innate intelligence. And so Dr. Douglas is a San Diego-based regenerative medicine expert and co-founder of Gold Star Shielding. Sorry. And he specializes in cutting-edge therapies like PRP, stem cells, exosomes, and VSELs, and for cellular rejuvenation, and all kinds of. We're going to talk about all this. I don't even know what all of it means, but we're going to get to it. Okay. He uses an integrative approach that blends neurology, endocrinology, IV therapy, peptides, botanical. It's a big deal. He's doing a lot of amazing things. And I know that you are probably looking at me going, for those of you that have been watching for a while, you're like, why is Jeff wearing a hat? He never wears a hat. He never wears a hat for the show. This is the first time. And the reason I'm wearing a hat is because it says silver on the side here. And that is the name of the company that Dr. Douglas has. It's Silver Scrubs. And so we're going to get into this. I got another one to show you too. It's going to be really cool. So let's bring him on and kick this show off here and see what we're going to talk about today. Dr. Douglas, thank you so much for joining me today, man. It's going to be so fun.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thanks a lot for having me.
Absolutely, man. This is good stuff. This is a totally new thing for me. I had never before we initially connected, I had never heard of any of this, didn't know any of this was going on, had never heard of anything that could help or anything. So we're gonna dive in here. And by the way, everybody watching, if you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, E360 is great too. Any of the like Apple TV, Roku, all the things. But if you are watching on Facebook or YouTube specifically, comment. If something that we talk about sparks something in your brain, or you're like, what, that is that true? Whatever, or a light bulb goes off, and you want to talk to Dr. Doug about it, throw a comment in there, and then he can get in touch with you. Also, this QR code will go to his website, which has all kinds of cool stuff like this, and like all the other stuff that he's doing that's amazing, with silver. And we'll talk about that. But that's his website. And there's Dr. Doug. There's also a place for people to contact you, like reach out to you and get in touch with you there as well. Yes.
Yeah, we have a support as well, and I can leave my contact email for you for the watchers.
Definitely, the contact email is in the show notes, and so we'll get that. If you want to contact him directly, that's a perfect way to do it. So, all right, I have a question that I like to ask everybody at the beginning of the show, because I'm always curious about the answer. There's no wrong answer. I feel like everybody that's ever been on the show, everybody that's ever dealt with an invisible condition, whether it's directly or indirectly, there's good days and there's rough days, right? On those rough days, how do you, Dr. Doug, maintain hope?
Great question. I think it's a little bit different depending on maybe how much energy I have that day.
Fair.
When I was having really rough days, when I had mold toxicity, it was, I couldn't think. It was brain fog, fatigue, just like you were just carrying 100-pound weights on each shoulder. And so it was really hard. I mean, sometimes I would just roll out of bed, get out of the house and get some sunshine. Sometimes just getting the sunshine, for 5-10 minutes would sort of wake me up, give me a little bit of, that fresh air as well. And if I could, I would get my bare feet on the ground. I'm a big believer in grounding. And, that really helped a lot, just to get some energy, kind of get through the day. Then maybe enough energy to even take your supplements, that are helpful, that sometimes you forget to do it, or you just don't have the energy to do it, so those are rough days. But I would say music, for me, you can see the guitars on the wall. That really has kept me sane in some of those kind of rougher moments. And I play and I sing and kind of meditate in that playing. So.
Nice.
Yeah, that's usually what does it. If I had the energy, I would work out. That's probably the most exponentially giving thing that you can do, is you move your body, challenge your muscles, challenge your nervous system, your neurology, within a safe threshold, and you get rewarded a lot, right? It's very hormetic for your body and your brain. So yeah, that's kind of depending on the energy, right?
I love it, man. Music is a big deal too, by the way. I am an aspiring guitar player. I have a guitar. I'm terrible at it. So maybe we can talk after the show about where to go and actually learn how to play very well, because I have had a heck of a time with that. But you're right. Music, even just hearing music, singing, it's huge. So I love that you said that. Well, let's dive in, man. When we were chatting about doing this show, you're telling me about your story and stuff, and you had quite the accident about 20 years ago, something like that.
It was about 20 years ago,
give or take. Mm-hmm. What do you remember from that? And you were like kind of on teetering between life and death there. Take us back there.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. I was, coming home from a party. It was like 20 years ago in February, probably. And I wasn't really drinking. I had a little bit, admittedly, but I wasn't really. I had a weird feeling that night, and I just wanted to go home early, so I left early, actually. And there was this sort of weird energy in the streets, and this thing, it felt like it literally grabbed the wheel out of my hand and went sideways on this curb. And next thing I know, the car is spinning and the world is just kind of turning, and I kind of like blacked out, and I actually left my body, and I had a whole experience with that, and sort of remembered things, and had this sort of knowledge of needing to be here, of wanting to be here, spiritually on a much longer timeline, and that I was given certain gifts, and it would be rewarded when I was on the right path, and it all happened in like an instant, and basically I decided to stay. I was sort of given the opportunity to go or to stay, and I realized that I hadn't even done what I came to do. And so I went back, and a flash, and then I get into my body, and the roof is caved in. I'm pushing the roof out, getting out of the door, and at that point I had all this adrenaline, which epinephrine, norepinephrine, we call it, and I didn't feel anything. I had no pain at all. Just like this super strength, right? Just pushing the car door open, and get out, and the car is totaled. It is smashed, and had pieces of car, every flashing lights, and all this stuff, and the airbags and everything, and I get out and I realize the car was on all four wheels on the right lane, as if it just came to a gentle stop, except for it was completely total. The roof was smashed, definitely evidence of the flip. And it was just so wild. And kind of I called my parents to help. I was close to home. It was on country roads, and got me home. And the next morning I couldn't move the left side of my body, and it was on fire. It was just electrical pain, and it was 10 out of 10 pain. It's one of those moments where it hurts so bad you can't even cry, and you can't move. And I had this really pinched feeling in the center of the base of my neck, and I felt I had really limited range of motion. I felt like if I turned an extra 10-15 degrees left or right, I would have just collapsed and never walked again. It was bad. Wow. And so it took me a while. I got up, called my mom. They got me to the ER. They fast tracked me into the orthopedic surgeon, and they said, I'm not really sure how you're walking right now. I was just dragging the left side of my body as I'm going in there. I'm drooling on myself because it was hard to seal my lips. It was a rough situation. And they said that I had so much intracranial pressure, they wanted to wait, and then they could schedule me as soon as 5 days. So I was in so much pain, and I asked them, what are the repercussions, or what are the chances, doc? And he says, well, you're likely going to need another surgery or a fusion down the road. You could always be partially paralyzed. You could get worse before it gets better, and there's always risk of, paralysis or death. It's like, so these are the options. The guy's just saying this very casually.
No worries. Just,
fully partially paralyzed or die. You're probably going to need another surgery. This is just the beginning. Like, we're just getting started here, And anyway, I liked it to do it. You're in so much pain, you don't know what to do. And I realized how much of an awful motivator that is, And it's one of the joys of my life is helping people actually get out of pain. And it's one of one of the large focuses in just regeneration. And so scheduled the surgery 5 days. They gave me some pharmaceuticals. They gave me some Tylenol number 3 with codeine, an opioid. I forgot which. There was another one, and then some like Flexeril, some muscle relaxers, and nothing really worked. It just made me feel like upset in the stomach and sort of angry, and it just hurt so bad. I couldn't even lean back all the way, so I couldn't lie down. I had to sort of try to sleep in a seated position. And so my mom, she knew this curandera, so it's a shamanic healer from El Salvador, traditionally trained through the ranks and through their, the ancient traditional ways, and just passed down. And we drive to her house. It's a house in a neighborhood about an hour away. And it's in a neighborhood. We walk up, there's not even a lot of cars out there. You walk into the house and there's like 15 or 20 people just kind of all on top of each other in the living room, like a little lobby. And this little lady, this really maybe 4'8", lady comes walking, out a couple of times, kind of scans the room, takes the person back, is in there for a while, comes back out. And after about 3 times, she scanned the room and looked at me. It's like, you come here. She like, okay, yeah, you're definitely urgent. I was probably pale, I was, probably drooling on myself, just absolutely miserable, just dragging the left side of my body. And she brought me back, and she looked at me. She said, "You're really messed up. Tell me what happened." So I told her, and she looked at me, and there's this moment where there's this trust, and she looked at me and said, "You're not going to need the surgery. Start taking this." And she hands me 3 things. She hands me fish oil, vitamin C and green pills, like these little phytonutrient. I don't even know what was in it. It was like broccoli, spirulina, kale, just green stuff, in a pill, and maybe chlorella. And I asked her how much do I take. She said just take a handful, take as much as you can tolerate every 3 hours. I was just taking handfuls of fish oil, vitamin C, and these green pills. And my inflammation started to go down after the second time I took it. But yeah, and when she saw me, she couldn't really touch me. She kind of like tapped my wrist, and it would shoot this electric, pain up my body. And so she tapped my tip of my finger. She's like, okay, yeah, okay, come back tomorrow. So every day I'd come back, and I just kept taking her stuff, and the inflammation was going down. I had a little bit more range of motion. I was still in pretty bad shape. And second day, third day, and she basically just went up a little further on my arm. Second day, third day, kind of got up to the shoulder the day before the surgery, and then asked me if if the surgery was tomorrow. I was like, yeah, it's tomorrow. She said, all right, well, you're not ready, but we're gonna have to do this right now. I was like, do what? She said, take your shirt off. I take my shirt off. Well, I get on my belly. I think she actually had to help me get my shirt off. I don't remember.
Sure. Oh yeah.
At that point, it's kind of weird when you're in so much pain, man. And yeah, so she gets me on my belly. She had me take 3 deep breaths, and on the 4th breath, she corrects my neck, jams the disc back in place, and my pain went from about a 4 or 5 out of 10 to 10, and then just disappeared. And the whole left side came back online. Like your foot when it falls asleep, and you're kind of kicking it back online a little bit. It was like that, and it was amazing. It was just an amazing, and all of a sudden I could move all the way at full range.
Wow.
And I ended up, going to the surgical appointment to at least get an evaluation. It was literally the next morning at 7. We go in, get a preoperative X-ray. We wait for about an hour and a half. The doctor is taking his sweet time. The surgery was like at 8 or something. He comes in almost 9 o'clock or something like that, and walks in. He kind of closes the door behind him, takes a big sigh. It looks like we're not going to need the surgery today. We're not going to need to do the surgery. The X-ray was perfect. It was clean. It was perfect.
Yeah.
And, so he was disappointed. And
of course he was.
It was funny. I mean, I was so happy. I was like, thanks, Doc. I didn't even tell him the story. I was just like, yeah. He said, he did say sometimes these things fix themselves. I'm like, well, no, but thanks for that.
That's only because you don't have a medical pharmaceutical explanation for it, Doc. That's
pretty much, I was like, well, I guess it just fixed itself, you come to find out it was like a $70,000 surgery. So it was a nice little payday. So wow. I guess I'd be upset maybe, but it was beautiful, the way it happened and meeting that woman. And that really set me off on this whole path. That really opened up what I, understood about that was the ability to heal. And I had to come back from sort of that, and literally leaving my body. So there was this whole near death thing that really gave me not gave me the sense of purpose, but it made me understand more about my purpose, and that that I started to get focused. I was looking for any sort of degrees that I could get, something that was be more accredited, and that was just kind of important, more for the family. I'm first generation from Guatemala. Sure. So it was like a big deal to kind of get out there and kind of be somebody and get a degree, all that kind of stuff. And so. Yeah, I got a degree in an alternative medicine. I say it with quotations, alternative medicine. Yeah, because it's really native medicine. When you're talking about using nature, working with nature, it's sort of this term that's been usurped. But I got a degree in looking at homeopathy, Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine. I did a broad study in nutrition and some sort of like the subtle sciences, and then finished organic chemistry and all that kind of stuff. Wow. And then got into my doctorate program in San Diego, and I never left. I've been on this journey. I was actually celibate for almost 9 years during that time. So, wow. It's been a ride, and I've been very focused and just really on this mission to help people engage in their capacity to regenerate and heal and really restore and thrive. I want people, my practice is actually called Optimum Wellness Natural, because it's about wherever you're at, you can be optimum. And even if, there's always things that you can do. And, even we were talking, before the show a little bit, and just kind of the invisible soup, right? Like that we live in, right. These microplastics, toxins, these chemicals, the EMF, and EMF is really a big one for me. I ended up getting very sensitive to it. And that was, if I walked around a room with a lot of people with cell phones, it would like be this pressure, and I would just feel kind of nauseated and sick. And, it was tough.
And that's what we're gonna dive into after the break here. We're gonna go to a commercial, but we're gonna dive into that in the second segment, because that's what this is all about. This is part of it. This is a little tiny piece of it. So we're gonna dive into that after the break here. But I do have an experience like that I want to share with you real quick at the beginning of the next segment too, because it's so cool when it almost like snaps you out of it, and you're like, oh, that's better, right? So but you can't explain it almost. You're like, what the heck just happened? So yeah, we'll talk more about that on the other side of the break. But everybody stick around. This QR code is going to go away for a second, but it'll be back in the second segment, so you can get in touch. But stick around, man. Seriously, there's more to the story. You do not want to miss it. We'll see you in just a couple minutes.
Hey everybody, Craig Tomanini here, founder and CEO of Ask Craig T, and I wanted to do a quick reminder about our podcast every Friday, 9 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. You can find us on YouTube and on all of our social media platforms, so be sure you tune in. Don't miss all the valuable information we're going to give you about how to scale your business using technology.
Hey there. You know, every time someone comes into your business or website and uses their card to pay, a percentage of that gets folded back into the system. But it can go to Hydro with Hope instead. If you'd like your business to support us rather than feed back into the system, scan the QR code and we'll show you how to do that while saving your business money.
Hey everyone, Coach Greg here from Living Empowered TV, where we help women live empowered lives through amazing guests, life hacks, mental, physical, and emotional health. See us on the Achieve Network, 12 o'clock Wednesdays Pacific time on E360 TV. Don't miss out.
All right, welcome back everybody, and thank you for being here, Dr. Doug. I appreciate it. This is awesome. If you if you caught any of that first segment, you were probably waiting by the screen for the second, because that's a story, man. You've been through a lot to get here, and we're going to dive into the rest of the story here in a second. And you said a couple things at the end of the last segment, and one of them reminded me of my story, which in the most recent brain surgery I had in October of 2021, I came away with some really wicked side effects, and they were painful, and they were 24/7, and it was crazy. Forced me to basically leave the job that I had for 12 years. It was a bummer. And I went to a place that did, they called it pressure point therapy on my vagus nerve. And I think we talked about this in our conversation before the show, or before when we met. But when I say pressure point therapy, I mean, like, the good old elbow, digging into the vagus nerve all the way up and down the body. And it was the kind of thing where the pain went to a 10 and then it went away. And then they moved to the next spot, and then she dug her elbow in until it went to a 10, and then it dissipated and it just went away. And she did that all up and down the body. Yeah. And the side effects that I was having completely disappeared after the first day of that treatment. So wow. It's crazy what's out there that actually works. And you talk about alternative medicine. I hate that term, because we'll be here all day if I get on my rant here, but I'll make it short. this conventional medical model that people are depending on way too much nowadays. Like, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for good neurosurgeons and doctors and anesthesiologists. And like, you can't cranial sacral your way out of brain surgery if you need it, right?
Yeah.
And I needed it, and it's fine. So without doctors, I wouldn't be here. They kept me alive. But the alternative world that's been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, way before this conventional medicine came along, that's what gave me my life back. That's what got rid of the side effects. That's what got rid of the stuff that the surgery did to me. It kept me alive. But man, so I don't understand the how they call it traditional Western medicine. It's not traditional. I call it conventional.
I'm of the camp of, like, use the best practices, right? So if you have this great technology, these great surgeons, and now it's going to be robots and AI, right?
Right. Yeah.
Laser precision. So it's only going to get better, and I understand, that surgery I was looking at 20 years ago, like, now is way more sophisticated.
Oh yeah.
Right. So they've come a long way, so I'll give them a lot of credit, a lot of props.
100%.
Sure. So, I
do too. I like
opinions about certain segments of of how medicine is used, right? I think it's,
exactly.
The first do no harm, or do the least amount of harm, should still be the name of the game. And with native medicine, you can really support that. And there's tons of synergy. We work with surgeons and doctors and all the time. I collaborate with all kinds of MDs as well.
Yeah.
I'm a naturopathic doctor. That's my wheelhouse. That's my favorite space to be in, but yeah. But yeah, we learn, and not a lot of people know that, but naturopaths have to learn all the pharmacology and the biochemistry. We do the gross anatomy. So, our programs are very extensive, and we need to know everything that MDs are, with conventionals. We don't do into the surgical sciences. That's more the osteopaths would be doing that kind of paths. But we know how to learn it. Usually we're trying to get people off medications, right? Because especially when they're coming in on 3, 4, 5 medications, and you're talking about polypharmacy, and there generally aren't any good studies, or not that I've seen, where you're using 3, 4 very different medications working together, and you're going to say that there's no interaction. It's perfectly safe, perfectly effective. Even if any one of them they don't look at all of them together, right?
Right. That's the main thing that I've realized over the last 10, 12 years of being in the hospital more often and having these surgeries more often. Like, it's like this Western medical model is if you have a problem with your ear, you go to the ear doctor. You have a problem with your foot, you go to the foot doctor. If you have a problem with your brain, you go to the neuro doctor. You have it, and they're all separate, and they all might prescribe a medication for you, which is probably warranted. That's fine. Whatever. We're not going to get into that whole rabbit hole, but then do they talk? Do they communicate? Do they say, what's that going to do reacting to that one? And are these going to go together? And then, not always. And so there's
generally not. Yeah.
There's a place and a time for that Western medical model. And I usually call that like catastrophe medicine, like you broke a bone, you got in a car wreck, you need a surgery, that's great. And then everything after that, you're probably pretty benefited by exploring everything outside that world, to help you after that, because they should be going together. They should be working together, I think. But personally, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But so one of the things that you talked about was sensitivity to EMF. Did you realize that? Did that come out of nowhere, or was that from time like around that, and you feel like it got worse over time, or like how did that come about?
Yeah, well, it definitely got worse when I had a mold toxicity. I was living in a place near the coast, and this was during the lockdowns. I was living there a little bit before, and then everything got locked down, and people really weren't opening things. There was all this humidity, and it just got kind of worse. And then one day I was rear-ended on my way to a house call. And this is where, my concierge practice really started to bloom, because everyone was not going to clinics. They didn't want to go into hospitals. And, it's like, can you come to me? And so I was like, okay. So, kind of the old school, doctor with his bag, going to the houses, doing house calls. And so, I was on my way. I got rear-ended. I got a whiplash really hard. And I was kind of, again, full of that adrenaline. Everything was fine. I did my, my house calls. And then I went back home in the afternoon. This was like super early in the morning. around 2:00, and I passed out. I mean, I literally just passed out. I woke up in an absolute fog, a haze, and everything hurt. And I knew exactly what it was. It was the mold that I'd been living in that was in my body as well, that I had a really patent blood-brain barrier. But the minute you get a concussion like that, floodgates open, the blood-brain barrier opens, the gut-blood barrier opens, and anything that's lingering, hanging out on the edges just seeps right in. While I was in a moldy room, breathing it in, and really shouldn't be going to sleep shortly after concussions or TBI type injury.
No.
So lesson reminder. But yeah, I after, and I'd always been kind of sensitive. So one of my gifts is sort of who I am, why I'm good at this, or why it's good for me to be doing this, is that I have a very sensitive sense of touch. I have this crossover and overlapping of senses. Sometimes I can taste things. I have a strong sense of sort of synesthesia, tasting, and sometimes it'll be visual. I will touch something and sort of visualize things. It's sort of this overlap, right? So not to get too far into
No, you're good.
but yeah, so I've always been a little bit sensitive. So things, I could feel things, I could feel emotions, I could feel people's pain before they would tell me. I could sort of feel and if I get near a hurt elbow, my elbow would start to throb, and I sort of, as a kid, sometimes I would notice people would be hurt and I would have this inclination to touch them. It's like, oh, right here. And I would just know exactly where that pain spot was. Wow. And I would just oh yeah, right there. And it's like, oh, and I would walk away, they were like, oh, that does kind of feel better. Thanks. Yeah, cool. And I would walk and my elbow would start to hurt, so it would sort of transfer this thing. I had this sort of sensitivity. So yes, I was always a little bit sensitive to EMFs but I never actually characterized it. I didn't really identify it until after I really got mold toxic. And then, I was sensitive to a lot of things, a lot of foods, a lot of scents, especially smells were really tough. Fragrances were very hard. And I never really liked a lot of chemical smells and kind of that fake smell stuff. So I started wearing a lot of EMF blocking clothing at that point because Wi-Fi routers, and that helped a lot right away. So that was one thing that made me kind of get out of that fog, because it was like you're foggy, you've got all this sort of toxicity, these mycotoxins, these free radicals floating around, and then you get this buzz. This is like constantly buzzing, and so there's some free radical chemistry there. There's some voltage changing, just cellular membrane changes that happen when you look at it on the cellular level. But anyway, it just makes everything worse. It makes the toxic load worse. It makes your ability to detox worse, your circulation, things like that. Micro things that if you're really overall healthy, you don't really notice, right? You don't necessarily, there's a lot of people who aren't sensitive at all. People are falling asleep with their phones right next to the brain. And, if I ever do that and I've fallen asleep with my phone, I feel it. That part of my body hurts for 2 or 3 days. It's like achy. It's weird. Yeah. So and that was definitely worse after the mold. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask that. That's what kind of led you to start going down the road of what eventually became silver scrubs. Yes, I mean that's absolutely where the reasoning came from to develop. It's scrubs that are lined with. I mean, explain the technology you got there, because it's fascinating. It's amazing how you do. And this is one of them, and this as well. I was gonna on the inside here, you can see it's. I don't know how it works. That's what I'm hoping you can explain, because in here,
real silver,
it looks just like a different color, but in here, that's actually silver. In the dark part, that's silver, and it's cotton on the outside and silver on the inside. I don't know how it works, but it's really cool, and so that's why I'm wearing, because you got the silver on there. So I want to know how we could tell people how it works and why you developed this, because it's so cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. We I just started, like I said, I was wearing all the clothing. I was wearing shirts and underwear, really, because they didn't have pants. They didn't have, like scrubs at all. There was nothing like that existed. They had a hat. So I started wearing the hats all the time, and my brain would just get cooler. It would feel cool, like relief. I don't know if you've kind of noticed that yet, but if you're in a really hot room with a lot of phones, try the hat on, and there's like this softening, the buzz goes down, and you don't notice it because it's just kind of this slow ramp up. But yeah, so I was wearing the scrubs on top, because I was active, was working all the time. I was wearing scrubs on top, so it's 2 garments, and I run a little bit hot, a little bit warm, so I would get hot, and it would just be sort of thick, right? The thick clothing, it's very breathable, movable, with 2 layers on. And so that slowly was in the works. But we started actually making hats. I'm a co-founder, so my partner, James or Jim Zovi, he had a lot of expertise working with China and factories and getting products made, developed, doing the quality control, and really like getting product into the marketplace from bare bones to a finished polished product. And so he kind of knew that language, and we were looking at making hats at first. And one of the things that the hat has that I have not seen any, we've cut quite a few open. I won't mention any names, but most of them all of them actually that we've tested do not have silver in the bill. So in the actual bill, there's another layer of the silver, right? And that actually will help protect the frontal lobe. It should block, in theory, the eyes as well, which is hard to test. But what we do test is that it goes the sound and the radio frequencies that are going through, the EMF that's actually going through, is blocked at 99.9% up to about short of the low frequency range, which are like X-rays, gamma rays, like these sort of ionizing rays, which most things cannot block. You'd have to wear like a thick lead jacket,
Yeah.
And most of the stuff that you're exposed to, the phones, the equipment, anything that's plugged in has an EMF current. Wi-Fi, the 3G, the 4Gs, the 5G, all the routers and smart meter boxes, all that stuff. It's 99.7 to 99.9999% blockage, and so it's really blocking and attenuating the signal. And it's silver. It's a proprietary fabric that we made using silver, and you can block it with silver and copper. There's different ways to block it. I'm sure you guys have all seen the cell phone little stickers and those sort of things, pads, and all this kind of stuff. And it's a really growing market. That was $1 billion industry last year. The little cell phone stickers and stuff, so it's there's a lot of recognition around it. I think more and more people are seeing something about what's going on with them for that. But so we were making the hats. We started making some blankets. We were looking at probably we were starting to fashion maybe shirts and underwear of our own because we want it to be cheaper. We want it to be more accessible because a lot of the ones on the market are like $200 a shirt. They're very, very pricey, very expensive. Silver is really expensive anyway. So there's a component of just the material that you're using, right? But silver seems to block these EMF fields, and what is EMF? Electromagnetic fields and frequencies, right? So I'm sure most of your audience knows that, but it's so important for me. It's important for a lot of people to block it. And when I'm wearing this stuff, I sleep better at night. I recover better. I'm not exhausted at the end of my day. I focus better. So one day, I was actually at Jim's house. We were doing IVs at his house. So I do house calls still to this day. I do concierge medicine, and I was doing house calls, doing IVs, and I was sort of looking at the scrubs, taking it off, and we got kind of at the very same moment we're looking at each other. It's like, holy crap, ding! Let's make scrubs. Like, why are we looking at shirts? We were looking at sports bras. That's one area that there aren't a lot of companies. We're looking at kind of areas in the marketplace that weren't covered, right? Or that we can make the product for cheaper. That it was even better or at least comparable, right? And we wanted to do, getting patents on the products and stuff. So we're in the process of all that stuff. But and it was like, ding, light bulb, let's just make scrubs. And we're looking into it. No companies made them. There was an old company that kind of fizzled about 5 years ago. It went nowhere, and you can't find them anymore. And so we're like, well, let's just start making them. And we made a few prototypes. I wear them every day. It's awesome. I feel awesome. They're not as heavy. I'm not wearing 2 garments. And it's fun. And I feel so much better when I'm wearing it. My skin looks better. I mean, there's just like a lot of little things that it's sort of hard to quantify, but my sleep is better. I cherish my sleep now. I used to be very, the guy that would sleep 4 or 5 hours and just be working or studying and, kind of got in the habit in medical school,
Not hard to do. Yeah. Wow.
But So one of these days along the way, we're making the hats, making the blankets, and then light bulb. Holy crap! Why not make the scrubs? I'm literally wearing, all this extra gear, and there aren't even really good pants out there that we found, at the time.
Yeah.
And so that was about 2 years ago, and so we've got, we're taking pre-orders now for our 2.0 fabric for the scrubs. We have the hats as you see on the screen there, and we also have cell phone pouches. We have these guys. These are fun.
My wife loves that her phone doesn't leave that pouch unless she makes a phone call. She loves the pouch. Yeah.
It really slows down.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
This actually had the highest rating. This was like 99.99999. I think it was 7 nines of protection.
Wow.
So you can actually seal it. If you seal it really tight, you can actually lose signal. But if you leave it a little bit open, you can still get your text and you still get signal. So, but it diminishes it greatly. So it's good if you're sleeping near if it's near any vital tissue or your brain, that kind of thing.
Awesome. I love
so,
that.
Yeah,
well, and this is hers. Like I had to like talk her out of this. She's gone with the kids today doing some stuff. And I was like, can you leave this at home today? I gotta, cause she loves wearing this hat. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. You can feel a difference. It's pretty amazing. So I'm so glad you've got the hats because you've got the scrubs, but then you still, this is a pretty vital area right here, So it's I love that
for sure. It's the moneymaker for many people, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Important. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, no, I did a deep study in neurology and along my training. And so like I understand it from a neurological perspective, just this sort of sympathetic overdrive. So the more buzz that you're exposed to, the more sympathetic you are. And that's why, people can't sleep. They're tired but wired, when they come home.
Yeah.
And the scrubs it was a sweet area for me because I'm clinical. I'm in these hospitals and clinics and, there's all these equipment that's plugged in. And, so I have this, I just want to help everyone who's on the same team, like where I feel like everyone, like these are my brothers and sisters and, on the front lines and, the cool part, which I really should mention for the scrub wearers is that it's antimicrobial too. So silver is strongly antimicrobial. So we actually did culture studies to see if anything would grow on it. So they tried a bunch of different cultures, strains of like staph, streptococcus and coronavirus, all these viruses and bacteria, nothing grows on it. It would not grow. And so, and you can notice that even the hat, there won't be a lot of a smell to it at all because nothing grows. So the things that cause odor, you're not culturing it that naturally, on the hat. So it greatly reduces the microbes. So the frontline workers who are, exposed to all this sort of infectious, air and stuff and antigens that they are not shedding that as much going home, so that's one of the big things too, is like with coronavirus and all the next pandemic they keep talking about, so that was really near and dear, but so thanks for letting me share that. I do have the blankets are really cool too. I wanted to show that. These are really
heck yeah. Yes. I love that.
We
and
got
baby blankets. There's a baby blanket too that's smaller that I absolutely love that because people, I don't know if so our kids are 21, 18 and 16. So when we started having kids, like there was no cell phones. Like we didn't have cell phones. Well, there was, but like we didn't have cell phones. So now everybody has cell phones and they keep them, I wager to say that once in a while, not trying to throw anybody under the bus here or anything, parents. So don't email me angry messages or anything, but I wonder how many of you like just kind of toss the phone in the baby carrier when you're carrying it into the supermarket or whatever, or if you don't want to put it in, you know what I'm saying? And so if you have the baby blanket with your baby blanket that detracts that, like, I don't know, just a thought, that baby carrier is good to carry all kinds of stuff, so I have a feeling that the phone ends up in there once in a while. So getting that blanket over the baby first is helpful maybe. So anyway, it's cool. I love that you thought of that though. Yeah, it's pretty smart. So, we're going to go to one more break, man. We got to go to one more break real quick and then it'll be fast and then we'll be back. And then you mentioned sympathetic and I kind of want to ask you about that because I know I've had a co-host for the last year that is really, really, really engrossed in that world of sympathetic versus parasympathetic. So I've got a question for you about that.
Yeah, right. So talk about the Vegas, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to tackle that as soon as we come back. So stick around, don't go anywhere, and we'll see you. We'll see you in a minute.
The Club eFit Home Portable Gym System is a groundbreaking new system that can help everyone at any fitness level. You can be the happy, fit person you always wanted to be, and Club eFit can make that happen by helping you get the body you deserve in the time you can spare. With workouts ranging from cardio, core, to total body toning, it's easy to get started. Start taking care of you today. To make the change, go to clubefit.com now.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Russell. I'm the host of TechnologyTuesday.com. You can find us on the Conscious Business TV network every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the latest resources to help you make more money in your business. Join us on E360 TV. Come on.
Welcome to live TV, everybody. I just hit the wrong button. It sounded okay. We're back. Here we are. Hello. Thank you for being here, and thank you for Dr. Doug for being here. This is so cool. I love this stuff, man. I love what you're doing. And as somebody that has spent a lot of time in an OR, on the table, not standing over it, I can definitely appreciate how much time people that are actually working in those rooms are under those waves and under the frequencies and stuff. And so I love this stuff. These scrubs are amazing. So anybody that has a friend or relative or anybody that you know that could benefit from this, man, check this website out, because it's some good stuff. And get you a hat while you're there, because why not? Because it's good stuff. So we were talking for a little bit. We got a few minutes left here. I want to touch on the sympathetic versus the parasympathetic, because you kind of mentioned it, but I feel like it's worth at least spending a minute or two talking about, because the sympathetic is where most people live. Am I wrong? Like that's where people spend most of their life, is that fight, flight, freeze, fawn, chaos, always, on edge kind of thing. And what you want to be is in the parasympathetic, right?
Absolutely. Well, you want to have balance, right? You want to have the ability to climb the mountain or run from the bear if need be, right?
Yeah.
You want to be able to stand up and fight for your right? But you also want to be able to come back to that baseline, that grounded. And you want that baseline to be very parasympathetic, very, very chilled out, right? It's that Zen, that's sort of what we're striving for. But and that's why we measure things like heart rate variability, just your ability to kind of get, sort of amped up and then you come back down, right? Because you don't want to be here. The problem is, people are here and they don't come back down, or their baseline is now shifted up. And so,
right.
they're basically in this low level, if not higher level of sympathetic. They feel their bodies on a cellular level. They're feeling the scariness, the fear, the unknown, the bear, the lion, the taxes, the tariffs, the cyber threat, the COVID threat. It's nonstop. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
This day and age, it's hard not to be in sympathetic, for sure. And so we have to, I think we have to equip ourselves to be to be unexposed if you can. Obviously block your EMF if you can. That's a big one for me and for a lot of people. But just pick your battles, get grounded. When you asked at the beginning of the show, one of the things that I really need, self-care is getting my bare feet on the ground. That grounding, is parasympathetic. That is vagal tone. Are you talking about, like the things that people can do to relax? Get your bare feet on the ground. It will stimulate a relaxation response. And you're also getting some good energy, whether you want to say that it's ionic energy or electric voltage potential, your sunlight, vitamin D, you're getting a lot of beautiful things out there. But, they've shown that even wounds that don't heal can heal faster if you're getting your bare feet on the earth. And you can't heal when you're running from a bear, right? So part of what's going on, you have this free radical experience, right? On a cellular level, it's sympathetic. You have free radicals. You have this stir up of crystal oxalates and all these little things, and inflammatory cytokines and chemistry and proteins. And if you don't quench that, it's like the cell is stressed. So you've got cellular stress chemistry, right? Your body eventually makes enough cortisone, and it tries to shut everything down, and you go into these giant spikes and and cortisol and blood sugar, and that leads to all kinds of further things and insulin sensitivity. And so the sympathetic thing snowballs, right? It just gets, and in that baseline, it's harder and harder to come down to a true baseline. That's why things like a stellate nerve reset can be fantastic. I don't know if you've ever seen a stellate block, a stellate ganglion block.
I've heard of it, but I'm not super familiar. Yeah.
Oh, it is awesome. It is a game changer for a lot of people. So it's actually, you have a stellate ganglion in your neck, right? So it's kind of about the C6, C7, you have inferior cervical chain. You have a couple of ganglion, which are nuclei or collections of where the nerves are really trying to figure out what's going on from the signal.
Okay.
And it'll wire back into the vagus nerve. It wires into some of the facial nerves, into the brainstem to a degree as well. So anyway, when you do an anesthetic there, like Procaine, for example, you basically are unplugging the system and you reboot it, the parasympathetic, the vagus nerve. So it reboots the vagus nerve to come and correct its baseline as much as you can. And sometimes it can do one treatment and it's absolutely can turn someone who's has a lot of anxiety, panic attacks, all this stuff to hardly ever having or never having them. Sometimes you need more of it. And as you were mentioning, like vagal, nerve like pressure and these sorts of things, it's a similar process. You're sort of shutting it down and then you're releasing, and then you get a flood of energy into it. So it's a very similar sort of way to do that. I do it with a needle. I do it with stem cells and exosomes and Procaine and different things. There's different things you can inject in there. And some people are doing ozone into that area too. But it will relax people. I mean, there's like this weight that gets lifted just doing that. I've done that work with veterans and people coming back from war zones and PTSD.
Yeah.
I mean, they're able to sleep again. I mean, it's just like the happiness that happens even just doing it one time. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. That's one of the things that I do in my practice is try to get people parasympathetic. The first thing we do if someone's ramped up, if someone's ill for a long time, and you're talking about these invisible conditions, right? There's a sympathetic thing inside of them. There's this bond. This is and the cells feel it, right? The immune system chemistry shifts that way. If it goes too long, it goes into autoimmunity and cancers, right? Those are sort of the end products of this sympathetic overdrive, right, on the cellular.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it can get bad quick, man. So pay attention, everybody. Pay attention to that, man. Well, I tell you what, I wish we had another hour, but we don't. We have about another minute. So what would you like to leave our audience with in this last minute or so?
Yeah, thank you. I would say, the key for health and longevity is consistency. Like, do your best with what you can today. Pick your battles. You're not going to be able to get all the microplastics out and avoid all the EMF and eat all the cleanest foods. It's just, you have to be, I think, appreciative of what you have, grateful. I think that having grace and being grateful is key for having a breath and being able to do that thing. Drink that water. Get some sunshine. Get free medicine where you can. If you can block EMFs, please do. It's a bigger problem than we realize, and it's just getting worse. It's only going to get worse. The 5Gs are going to come out with 6Gs, and they're just putting more and more towers everywhere. Hospitals, clinics, schools. Yeah. These are places where they love to put these towers, and it says, do not have life around these towers. Like life dies around these towers, And so, you got to be careful with that. But I say consistency, have a light heart if you can, get some sunshine, get grounding and get free medicine wherever you can. And you are the medicine. That's the key. Like it's all inside of you, and protect yourself where you can.
I love it, man. You are the medicine. Yeah. I mean, it's first and foremost, do no harm, and let your food be your medicine be your food. Right. So, but exactly. I appreciate it, man. Hey, Dr. Doug, thank you for being here, man. Thank you I wish we had another hour, but man, what we got out today is so good and so important. And thank you. Thank you for spending the time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Awesome. And stick around. Let's chat after the show too. But thank you so much. All right, everybody, man. Okay. I'll take that QR code down at some point. So if you forgot to scan it after this time, go back and rewind it, watch the show again and soak up more of his information and go for it. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Join us for our next show on Friday, August 15th. And looking forward to see you then. Till then, have an amazing day, and we'll see you soon.